Hi, this is Anders Johansson, and you're listening and watching Metal Mania. Well, music was always like part of the family thing, and it felt natural. It felt like we were. I thought when I was a kid, everybody's parents were musicians, and I think it was like normal. It took me like a few years till I realized that's not how it is really. But in the beginning, our father played piano, so when we were small, me and my brother Jens, we played piano, both of us. And but our father died really early, so we never really played with him. When he died, when we were like 6 and 5 years old, so we never really got the music from him like that. It was just a legacy thing, sort of. But also we had an interest in music ourselves. We weren't. It wasn't just because of him. I think it was because we liked music, and we had an easy time to learn as well. That came from him, of course, from the genetical thing. So it was like we started out playing piano, and then after a while I got bored with it kind of, and also had a bicycle accident. So I used that as an excuse to start playing drums instead, which I was more interested in actually. The upright bass thing was like it's sort of a recent thing, the last 10 years maybe. And in the beginning I felt uncomfortable even saying I play upright bass, because I thought I was a fraud kind of. But now we played enough, so now I think I can actually manage to say I play decent. I'm not like a great bass player or anything, but I'm good enough for what me and my brother play. We play folk jazz things, blues kind of, and I think I have a good ear. So these things don't have frets, so I can tune, pretty good. And I have timing from playing drums for like 40 years, so it's not that different. If you know one instrument, you can actually play other ones easier when you have a foundation on something else, I think. The first concert, that was with my father. I was maybe 4 years old, and he played on Swedish television show, and they brought me there, and that was the first time I went to. It wasn't really a concert. They played like a few songs, sort of, and a real concert. It took much longer. It was probably some when we were teenagers. I think I saw Thin Lizzy the first time I saw a real rock band, sort of. And the first album I bought back then, it was like I was kind of embarrassed in front of our mother that we liked heavy metal and rock, because she always said, you're going to turn out to be jazz musicians, and this rock music is not really music. So I was hiding cassettes from my mother and listening to in when she didn't know. It's really stupid, I know. But the first cassette I got really interested in was the Purple cassettes, like Made in Japan. It was like a record I listened to a lot. And but the first one I bought was an Aldi Meola record, actually, called, I think it was Elegant Gypsy. That was the first one I bought with my own money. When I was 18, I joined for our hometown, a local band that was the biggest metal band in our local town. It was called Silver Mountain, and I joined first, and Jens joined after a few years, sort of. But that was before Malmsteen, and we actually made albums before Malmsteen did, and he knew about us from that band, sort of. And when I did my military service, it was in Yngwie's hometown, so I asked a mutual friend if I could meet him and stuff, and because he was phenomenal, and he had giving cassettes to people, and people copied his cassettes like crazy, because he was like unbelievably good, of course. He was only like 18, and the people freaked out. What is this? Nobody had played like that before. It was like unheard of. So I, of course, wanted to meet him. And when I was on leave from the Marines there, we hooked up and jammed a little bit in his rehearsal place. But when he started his own band, he wanted to bring me and my brother over to record on his solo album, but the record company and his management didn't want anybody of us because we were totally unknown, and they wanted like safe players, kind of like that with experience. So they made some sort of compromise. It's easier to bring a keyboard player over. The keyboard is light. I mean, it's not so difficult. You have a day in the studio and he can prove himself. A drummer is a bigger thing. You need a kit, and you need to set up, and you need to rehearse and stuff like that. So on the first album with Yngwie, I wasn't playing, but I went there anyways because I thought back then I had good self-confidence. I mean, the younger you are, the better, for me at least. The older I get, the more I think, maybe I'm not that good or whatever. But back then it was different. So I convinced him that I was going to be part of the band from there on, and he said, "Oh, okay." Yeah. He had a great vision, but he compromised a lot, especially with my brother. My brother and him were like bouncing ideas off each other, and unfortunately, Yngwie, it wasn't the money thing, but like I mean, of course, Yngwie did a lot. He did the lion's share of everything, but a lot of small things, a lot of ideas came from Jens and even from me sometimes. I mean, I'm not trying to say that I was part of the creative thing, but in a way, maybe a little bit, some small things here and there. And for Malmsteen, we asked, maybe, because we didn't have much money at all, maybe we can have 1% of the song publishing, or 5% or 10%, like that. And he was, then it turned really weird. But I know it wasn't the money thing. He had like a hang up. He wanted to be the main guy. He wanted to think that the audience would think that he made exactly everything. He conducted it. He wrote every drum part and every keyboard note, like that. That's how he wanted it to sound. And that's we thought that this is weird, but it was like it was some sort of psychological hang up. It wasn't that he was spiteful or mean or like an asshole or anything like that. It was just his problem, I think. That maybe inferiority complex, or maybe what led him to becoming in the first place manifested itself like this side, that it was so important for him to be the best car driver or the best when we shot guns and stuff. It was really important to him to be number one, kind of, with everything. But of course, he was as a guitar player, he was, but that wasn't enough sometimes for him. But we all have our little hang-ups and stuff, but he was never mean or raised his voice or anything like that. No, we had a really good time with him, actually. Yeah, HammerFall. When I first came in, like they had issues with their drummer, whatever it was, and they needed somebody to finish off like their festivals. And I knew the bass player Magnus from before. We met each other in Los Angeles, and we actually played in bands together as well. And so he brought me in there as a session guy. And after all the festivals, I just stayed somehow. It just went on and on. So I kept being in there, and for me it was great because it was Swedish based, and they were like 2.5 hours away with a car if we had to rehearse or something like that, and they were very reliable and dependable sort of thing. And musically, I mean, it was heavy metal. It wasn't like Yngwie or fusion stuff we played before, but it was like Judas Priest, except sort of metal. So it was like straightforward, and so it wasn't exactly like what I was used to, but close enough, sort of. And so with them also, we played a lot of places I never been to before, and did a lot of things I never done, like being on major TV shows in Sweden and sort of game shows and stuff like that, and playing a lot of weird countries in like India and all the countries in South America, which I never done before. So it was a good time with them. yeah, it was the same thing, sort of over and over, kind of, and it was basically two guys, little baby, that band, and not that I wanted to be creative or anything like that, but it was like, I mean, I wasn't the hired gun. I was part of the band and like that, but also like kind of a hired gun when it came to decisions and music and stuff like that. And also we, I don't know, 15 years, and I felt like just had enough somehow. It was like a long tour sometimes. They were, before I quit, they planned long tours, like it seemed endless at the time. I don't know, maybe it was all me though. They weren't the culprit or whatever. They weren't doing anything bad. It was all me when I left. And I thought it was, when I left, I told the management. I didn't dare telling the members, because I knew if I would have talked to them voice, they would have convinced me to stay, because they knew me that well. So they would have, please, and I would have had to stay, kind of. So I chickened out and told the management, which was kind of, they were kind of pissed off actually, but which I can understand. The thing is, we have these NDA contracts where it clearly says we can't mention them and stuff like that. And they've asked me kindly to refer to this contract if I ever get asked anything about Manowar. And I do want to say, though, I had a great time with them and wonderful, and I felt very, very welcome. And this you can say, I mean, keep in here, very, very welcome. And they have like a sort of family with members, it seems. I mean, they have the same crew year after year, and the same management people. They're like a tight family, and to bring me in there was like I was very honored. Yes, I did. I mean, I'm not a great martial artist or anything. I did taekwondo and karate, and I'm a big, heavy guy, kind of. So I always, these martial arts are like for sort of light and tiny Japanese or Korean people. So it's kind of weird for big guys. But so I try to develop a strong punch instead, and hard kicks. Like, so I'm basically more of a kickboxing type, even though I never went to matches kickboxing and stuff. Then that's dangerous, and you have to be young probably to think you're invisible and you're what do you call it? You can't be hurt. And old cars, yeah, I've done that. I have, since I'm a musician, there's a lot of spare time, so then you get into different things. The old cars are like, it's fun to do the mechanical thing with them and repair and whatever, and restoration sort of thing. And also I shoot rifles, not for hunting, more for like on the, what's that called, on the shooting range, on far away, you try to hit small targets. And astronomy, I'm into, I mean, that sort of thing, electronics, radio operation, when you talk to people around the world. That's always hard. There's so many things that's been happening. So it's like 40 years probably almost of this. But I remember we had a band with a guy from Mahavishnu Orchestra, the bass player, a friend of mine. Is also Swedish, so it's not so strange. And an American guitar player called Sean Lane. That's probably the best guitar player there ever was, and will be, like when it comes to speed and that sort of thing. We went to support like a Chinese pop singer once in China before. This was 1985, and it was really weird. We played this communist party stadiums with her, and that was really the most different touring experience I've ever done. I remember they didn't have cases for a drum kit. They had so many Chinese people, and it was so much money, so they had crew people going into the plane with bass drum. One had the bass drum, one had like the cymbal stands. He was sitting there in the in coach or whatever in the seats with the drum kit. I thought that was really weird, rather than checking it in or having cases for them. They'd never done touring there before. So I think we were there. It was the first time they did like a major tour kind of with the same band. Otherwise, they had local bands everywhere. And of course, everything we ate there, we ate wasps and cicada, whatever they call these things, and elephant skin and duck bill, like the beak. And so that was the most extreme touring and experience. What happened was, like, my sons heard me and my brother play that folk blues music, like on upright bass and piano, and they made sort of metal versions of these songs. And I thought, that's really cool, you should do something with these guys. And then years later, when they had grown up and became skillful enough, I told them, maybe we should record something like with this here. And so we did, and it just kept from there, kind of. And since they're my sons, they are, it's good somehow. First of all, they have the same sort of timing, and they play, they're easy to deal with on a musical level. And also, since they're sons, they're used to me, kind of. There's no arguments like that. And of course, on the way to gigs, like when they were a little younger, I used to lecture them, like, about what they should do and don't drink too much and don't have that beer and shit like that. But now they don't misbehave. Like most young guys now these days are really well behaved anyway. So I don't have to tell them. They tell me more or less these days things, Maybe please, you can don't do that. They ask me, which is kind of weird, but. They are very involved. They are, when it comes to the music, they are basically the ones that make the songs and stuff. And me and Mike, the singer, which are older, we thought it's better that the young boys do that, because they're more in tune with what people like today, and they're more interested as well. They're more they burn more for it, sort of like to make songs and stuff like that. So Mike makes a lot of lyrics and stuff like that. We made that was done kind of like 2021, but then Corona came, and so they sort of pushed it a little bit further. So it's been done for a while. So we actually have a fourth album now. We're writing, but that the newest one, BLISS, it was like also written during the Corona time. So naturally, it seemed to become a little bit more heavier and more darker somehow sounding, but which was I like it. I like more the darker and heavier stuff personally. It's funny that people like so different styles. It's hard to tell what people like, but I think the lyrics are like they're not really about dark things so much. They like more natural or normal, or not happy really, but about life really. We're gonna try to make a tour of November of start in Sweden and play the Swedish thing, and then do what we can. We're gonna play some festivals this summer. We're gonna play Sabaton Festival and some other ones, and we're gonna play when we can, actually.